So I already kind of discussed why I chose UMKC Greek life and particularly the fraternities. But so with that, I created the survey. So I kept my target population in mind. And by keeping that target population in mind, I made questions that were more interesting for that certain target population and put them in the beginning. Why? Because anytime you give a survey to somebody, they're always like, "Oh, it's another thing. It's time out of my day. Something I have to do." So that is why I gave the target population some kind of questions in the beginning to kind of interest them, to kind of keep their attention, so they would answer my questions as honestly as possible towards the end. So after asking a few general questions, kind of about the fraternity they're in and stuff like that, and also I asked some general questions about UMKC sports, I then went focused on men's basketball. So I asked the demographic questions at the end where the participant was more likely to be uninterested in the content of the survey. I did this because demographic stuff is easy, you don't have to think about it, so I put that at the end where the thinking will be done at that point, and then they don't have to keep going because it's time out of the day, and I wanted to keep it short and sweet. And I also, so saying that, I kept the survey relatively short to prevent participant fatigue. So, the participants. So I ended up getting 10 total participants to take the survey. So all participants were male, 6 participants were junior seniors, and 4 were underclassmen. 4 were members of the Beta Theta Pi fraternity, 2 were members of Sigma Phi Epsilon, and 4 were members of Sigma Alpha Epsilon. So I got a range of different fraternity members, not just one, because I wanted to kind of see what the different fraternities could bring and what the students each one had to offer. So, the results of my survey. So, I asked, do you attend any UMKC sporting events? And all 10 of the participants did. So then, I went further down. So, out of those sporting events, have you attended a UMKC men's basketball game? Have you attended men's basketball games in the past year? So, 3 said yes, and 7 said no. So, I went on to ask, so if UMKC men's basketball games were held on campus, would you attend? Number of participants that said yes to this were 9, and the number of participants that said no to this was 1. And then I asked another question, so if transportation were available, would you attend games at Municipal Auditorium? And so the number of participants that said yes were 9, and the number of participants that said no were 1. So that was the basics of the survey. So now I will go and show the actual survey that I did. So here you can see my actual survey, kind of what fraternity are you part of, do you enjoy playing sports, which ones, do you enjoy watching sports, and so on and so forth. And you can see here, and later I will also upload the actual survey too on Blackboard so that can be seen. So that's one, and then here is the other. Okay, so that is my survey. So now we'll go back to the PowerPoint presentation. So, okay, so that was the results. So, more of the results continue. So, all the participants live within 3 blocks of the UMKC campus. That would make sense because, as you can see, I did it at the fraternity house, and that's right next to campus. It's right across the street, basically on campus, so that makes sense. The average response for interest in UMKC men's basketball was a 6 on a 10-point scale. So, on this 10-point scale, 1 was being no interest in UMKC men's basketball, and 10 was having high interest. And the median response for the above question was 7. So, for those that are wondering, average is the mean where you add up all the responses divided by the number of participants, and then median is the middle number. So they're very similar to each other. So, there is an interest for UMKC men's basketball. It's not 0, but it's not 10. So it's not bad. There is some interest. It's above average interest. So, of the 6 upperclassmen that would have been able to attend games at Serenity Recreation Center, all 6 of them attended games there. That's because it had been 2 years ago when Swinney Rec held UMKC basketball games. And so those upperclassmen that were able to experience that, all 6 of them attended games there. So, of these 6 upperclassmen, only 2 of them have attended games at Municipal Auditorium. So you could see a relationship there that 100% of them went to games at Swinney, but less than half of them are going to games now at Municipal since it's farther away from campus. So of the remaining 4 participants, only one has attended games at Municipal Auditorium. So, as you can see, only 3 total of 10 has attended games at Municipal Auditorium. Okay, so what kind of analysis of the results? So after looking at the results of the survey, I came to the following conclusions. There is some interest in UMKC men's basketball among members of UMKC fraternities. It's not a 0 interest, but it's not a 10. So basically, UMKC basketball, it intrigues people, especially the fraternities at UMKC. And also, the attendance of men's basketball games at the Municipal Auditorium by students living near campus is low. So basically, the students that live near campus, that is, I surveyed the UMKC men's fraternity, it was very low, attending the games at Municipal Auditorium, whereas the students that were able to attend the games at Swinney Rec was 100%. So, and also I asked questions, if UMKC did provide transport for students living near campus, would those students attend the games at Municipal Auditorium? And that answer was yes. So if UMKC would utilize its shuttle system and get students to the game, they could really increase their attendance at these basketball games. So, possible flaws in the survey. So, since Greek life is generally known to be more active than other student populations, the results could have been slightly inflated compared to a survey population of other students living near UMKC's campus. The survey could be misleading since the sample size is small as well. If you give the sample to more people, the results could vary, and maybe there is no interest and nobody would go to the games regardless. So, and also, I gave the survey in person. And if this survey were going to be mass-produced and given, another method of delivery would have to be achieved. And also, since I only targeted fraternities at UMKC, I used my target population to sculpt and create some of the questions, so the questions would have to be changed if the target population would change. So, what can be done from a marketing standpoint? So I personally have no idea and no inclination why UMKC moved from Swinney to Municipal Auditorium. But I would assume they probably predicted growth would occur because Municipal Auditorium hold more seats, and if they renovated, it'd be nicer and attract more people. So both of these were done by going to Municipal Auditorium. So while attendance increased with the move, there's always improvements that could be made. So for my survey, I uncovered that attendance at men's basketball games is low by students that live near campus. So since a Municipal Auditorium is located several miles away from campus, attendance by these students that live near the campus is low. So if the UMKC, as I have said previously, would use a shuttle system, it could increase its student attendance at men's basketball games by students who live near campus. So why does any of this matter? Why am I talking so much about students that live near campus? As I said before, there's a lot of people who go to UMKC that live near campus. UMKC doesn't have a lot of people that live on the campus, but they have a lot of people that live near it, in nearby neighborhoods and nearby houses. So, if the appropriate measures were made by the marketing department at UMKC, student attendance could largely be increased at UMKC men's basketball games. So the more attendance could mean more opportunities for sponsorship and increased revenue for the athletic department. If you have more people at the games, sponsors are more likely to ask for the rights at these basketball games to kind of increase their brand. So it's that symbiotic relationship we talked about in sports marketing in week 9 in our reading question. So if they could really work together and increase the attendance, then boom, you could really increase the sponsorship and the revenue for the athletic department. Also, increased attendance could increase interest and establish a strong brand out of the UMKC men's basketball team. So these are my references there. So basically, as we talked about, I had my survey and kind of determined that there's not a lot of people who go to UMKC basketball games currently that live near the campus, but if transportation were provided, they would go to these games. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I can't wait to hear all the feedback I get. Thank you so much.